It began as a whisper in Russia's energy corridors. Now, it's an alarm that won't stop ringing. Ukraine has struck 160 Russian oil and energy facilities this year, and every explosion is a blow straight to the Kremlin's wallet. For years, Moscow's war machine has run on black gold, turning barrels of oil into bombs, pipelines into lifelines. But now, Kyiv isn't waiting for sanctions to starve Russia's economy. It's going straight for the jugular, striking the fuel that feeds the war. Imagine Russia's economy as a Formula One car on a long, endless track, sleek, powerful, roaring at top speed. Then Ukraine cuts the full line mid-race. Suddenly, that growl turns into a sputter. That's what's happening right now. Vasyl Malyuk, head of Ukraine's security service, didn't just announce the campaign, he promised more. He called it reducing Russia's ability to finance its war. Translation? We're coming for your money supply, and your tanks can't stop it. This isn't diplomacy. This is economic warfare with wings and warheads. Within hours of Malyuk's statement, satellites caught it. Refineries ablaze across western and central Russia. Massive fireballs licking the sky. Oil depots swallowed by smoke columns taller than skyscrapers. Drone strikes. Cruise missiles. Precision sabotage. Each hit doesn't just destroy metal, it melts morale. And the ripple? Fuel prices soar across Russia. Supply lines stretch thin. The war effort gets hungrier by the day. The war economy needs fuel like a jet needs afterburners. Cut that off, and suddenly the mighty war machine starts coasting on fumes. By the third day of Ukraine's campaign, the pattern was unmistakable. Refineries, terminals, pumping stations, systematically targeted, one after another. One refinery burns, and 10 Russian logistics officers lose sleep. Each strike forces Russia to do the most expensive thing any superpower can do: play defense. They scramble for anti-drone nets, import emergency parts from China, reroute oil by train. It's like watching a boxer trying to cover every rib, but getting jabbed from 100 directions at once. Ukraine isn't just fighting on the front lines. It's attacking the economic bloodstream that keeps those front lines alive. Fast forward a week, and the effects are spilling beyond the battlefield. Fuel shortages hit Russian truckers and factories. In this place, the price of diesel jumps, and citizens start grumbling at gas stations. In an energy empire, that's the first tremor before a quake. Refineries that took decades to build are now gutted. Some sit abandoned, others run at half capacity. Engineers work overtime, but spare parts under sanctions are harder to find than honesty in Kremlin press briefings. The result? Cracks in Russia's industrial core. And when industry stumbles, war effort follows. No fuel, no tanks. No gas, no generators. No money, no missiles. At the front lines, the strain is real. Convoys crawl instead of sprint. Tank battalions run lean. Helicopter sorties are rationed like sugar in wartime. Russia's once endless fuel supply, the backbone of its invasion, is now a guessing game. Think of it like a massive orchestra suddenly missing half its instruments. The show can go on, sure, but it won't sound the same. Meanwhile, Ukraine has turned every drone into an accountant, calculating how to bankrupt a superpower, one explosion at a time. A month in, Russia's energy output looks like Swiss cheese, full of holes and leaking profits. Energy exports are down. Revenue from crude sales, the same cash that buys bonds, takes a nosedive. And the Kremlin's budget deficit widens like a wound that won't close. Inside Russia, the pinch grows personal. Civilian fuel rationing in some regions, long queues at gas stations, rising inflation, all while billions are spent patching up a losing war. Even the propaganda channels are having a hard time spinning it. Special operation sounds less heroic when your gas tank's half empty. By month 2, the damage becomes systemic. Refinery engineers admit they can't replace burned equipment due to sanctions. The specialized turbines, compressors, and heat exchangers, all Western-made, are impossible to source. Moscow tries to lean on Iran and China for parts, but it's like trying to fix a Ferrari with tractor tools. The machines might run, but they won't roar. And every minute those refineries sit idle, Russia bleeds millions. The oil once traded for weapons, tech, and influence now sits in scorched tanks and leaking pipes. Russia's war economy begins to wobble. The ruble weakens, inflation rises, and investors flee faster than rats from a sinking ship. It's not a battlefield collapse, it's an economic implosion in slow motion. Ukraine has effectively weaponized economics, turning the fuel Russia once used for bombs into a financial time bomb of its own. Each drone strike now carries a message. Your war is expensive. Ours is efficient. Meanwhile, the Kremlin tries to pretend it's business as usual. Officials boast about resilience, while quietly rationing energy exports to keep the lights on. Oligarchs start moving yachts again, not toward the Mediterranean, but away from it. The situation is so dire that Russia is reportedly burning through its sovereign wealth fund at an alarming rate, just to balance the budget. Imagine running a marathon while eating your own muscle to survive. That's Russia's economy right now. Technically moving but feeding on itself. Here's the big picture. Ukraine isn't just waging war with weapons, it's waging war with economics. For every drone that hits a refinery, 10 fewer tanks get refueled, 100 fewer missiles get built, and one step closer Moscow comes to the edge of fiscal collapse. This is the new kind of warfare. Precision strikes not on armies, but on bank accounts. And as those accounts dry up, so too does Russia's ability to keep this war burning. So here we are. 160 strikes, billions in damage, and the Russian war machine coughing black smoke instead of victory. Will these strikes be enough to cripple Moscow's economy completely? Or will the Kremlin somehow find another lifeline to keep the engines turning? One thing's certain, Ukraine has proven that in modern warfare, the most powerful weapon isn't always a missile. Sometimes, it's meth. The lights are flickering in Moscow's war machine. What once roared as a full-throttle invasion engine is now sputtering in the shadows of burning refineries and collapsing oil revenue. Russia isn't just fighting a war in Ukraine, it's fighting for its economic lifeline. Ukraine's strikes on Russian oil and energy infrastructure have gone from dramatic to existential. Hundreds of facilities, refineries, pipelines, and terminals have become fireballs lighting the Russian sky. The damage has gone from tactical to structural. Imagine Russia's economy as a skyscraper built entirely on oil. Now imagine Ukraine systematically pulling out the support beams, one by one. At first, the building creaks. Then it groans. Now, it's starting to lean. Ukraine's campaign has knocked out up to 40% of Russia's refining capacity at points. An industrial amputation. That means less gasoline, less diesel, less export income, and less cash for the Kremlin's endless war tab. Fuel shortages spread, prices spike, and Russia's once reliable energy profits begin to bleed out. The empire built on oil is coughing up smoke. Oil and gas once filled the state's war chest. Now, that chest is half empty. The finance ministry scrambles to rewrite the budget, slashing forecasts and pretending this is fine. Meanwhile, refineries burn, crude sits unsold, and every tanker takes a longer, riskier route to avoid sanctions and drones. It's like trying to drive a tank with one track missing, technically moving, but mostly in circles. A war machine doesn't run on slogans, it runs on logistics. When energy facilities go down, convoys slow, repairs stall, and armored columns wait for fuel that never comes. Each Ukrainian drone is a wrench thrown straight into the gears of Russia's military engine. And no matter how loud the propaganda plays, the grinding sound of that engine breaking down is getting harder to ignore. Even Russian officials admit it. The deficit is ballooning, the war is getting more expensive, and the economy is feeling the choke. Every ruble spent fixing a refinery is a ruble not spent building tanks. Every tanker lost to sanctions is a convoy that won't reach the front. Russia is fighting two wars, one on the ground and one in its balance sheet. At home, frustration is rising. Full rationing and price hikes hit ordinary Russians. In the Far East, drivers queue for hours just to fill a half tank. Inflation climbs. The shelves get thinner. The ruble gets weaker. The Kremlin tries to project calm, but it's like watching a magician pull flowers out of a hat when the hat's already on fire. Social services get cut to feed the army, industries slow under sanctions, and factories lack spare parts. Russia's economy is beginning to look less like a fortress and more like a sandcastle at high tide. The long-term damage is worse than the headlines. Refineries need years and billions to rebuild. The precision equipment, compressors, turbines, distillation units can't be made domestically, and the Western suppliers are gone for good. Moscow leans on Iran and China, but it's like trying to fix a luxury car with borrowed tractor parts. Sure, the engine turns over, but don't expect it to win a race. Even the Kremlin's safety nets are fraying. Russia's sovereign wealth fund, the rainy day stash that once padded the economy, is being drained to keep the war machine fed. Every withdrawal is an admission. The storm has already hit. Globally, the shockwaves are spreading. Oil markets wobble, insurers raise rates, and investors quietly back away. Russia can find new buyers, but every sale is slower, smaller, and more expensive to move. The losses run into billions each year. For an economy that depends on energy exports to buy loyalty and bullets alike, this is slow suffocation. The question isn't whether Russia feels pain, it's how much longer it can pretend it doesn't. The sanctions, the strikes, the inflation, they converged into a perfect storm. Even a petrostate can't survive when the pumps run dry. So, where does this lead? If Ukraine keeps hammering energy infrastructure, Russia's economy risks a freefall. Factories will halt, cities will dim, and the war chest could collapse under its own weight. Every drone that hits an oil tank now hits deeper, into the nerves of Russia's economy, into the foundations of its stability. Russia has survived crises before, but this time is different. This isn't one disaster. It's 1,000 small cracks spreading through every pillar of its power. At some point, the building doesn't shake, it falls. Russia's economy is under siege. Ukraine's strikes have turned oil, the Kremlin's greatest weapon, into its greatest weakness. The question isn't if the pressure will break something, it's what breaks first. Is this the beginning of Russia's economic collapse, or can the Kremlin patch the leaks before the flood? Tell us what you think in the comments.